Hey guys, welcome back to OverTakes. This is Kel.
And this is Misfit.
And we're here with another show. We got a lot of things to talk about. We're going to be talking about all the roster reveals. There's quite a few new players that are coming in to the new teams. There's a couple of players that are revealed for some existing teams. We got a few things to talk about as far as Boston and the craziness that happened last season. We're going to talk about the new camera. All that stuff and how that's going to change how we're going to present things to you and just how that's going to change how, really everything. YouTube. Yeah, it changes everything. It's such an amazing tool.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about, we're going to talk maybe not great length, but we're going to talk a good amount about that and what we're going to be offering you guys as far as content goes. Some of you guys have been around for a while. You saw some of our stuff last year. It's going to improve some of that stuff that we did.
Yes. And it's just something we've been wanting since the league came in.
Yeah,
and they're finally giving it to us. It's going to be available to everybody on console.
Not yet.
Everything. At some point, it will be available to all Overwatch players, which is awesome. So, it's going to be cool for us as spectators. It's going to be cool for changing how you play and how you look at your own replays. It's going to
improve your gameplay. It's going to improve the viewing experience. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's an amazing tool. I'm so excited to use it.
Yeah.
If that's something that interests you, and if you're coming back, thank you for everything that you've done for us. Anybody that's already subscribed, liked our videos, all that good stuff. If you haven't done any of that, please do. We try to give you guys Overwatch League content at least once a week during the off season. We try to do a couple times a week, and then for the next couple weeks, it's going to be some more because there's a lot more stuff going on. And then during the season, we usually do about 4 to 5 uploads a week. So if you like that, give us a subscribe, give us a like, all that good stuff. Leave us some comments, leave us your feedback. Tell us anything you want us to talk about, and we'll talk about it.
Definitely. So let's dive into some news with teams. All right, we got the Atlanta and the Toronto logos and branding and all that kind of stuff, and now we got the juicy stuff. Not to use the word juice,
right?
But anyway, that dude was right in this one. But anyway,
yeah, no kidding. One of the first things we want to talk about is the no-brainer move that everybody saw coming.
Yeah.
We've even talked about it like it was a sure thing because it was. There was no way they weren't going to let this happen. Flower is joining the NYXL. Hey, no kidding.
Yeah, really. he's gonna bring some good stuff to him. He's
right.
A fantastic DPS player.
I'm pretty sure he was one of the highest paid contenders players as it was. So it's for them to not bring him up to their full roster would just be asinine. I think it's going to cut down on the playing time for a lot of their other guys. I would be surprised if Flower does not become their main DPS player alongside Libero. Just the combination of those two could absolutely be disgusting.
Yeah, because we don't know where Sabiobi's at as far as his hero pool goes, because he's a tracer god, but we saw at the end of last year that not so much on everything else.
Right.
He's really good, so he's probably working on some stuff.
Right. I'm sure he's trying to expand his hero pool at this point. I'm sure Pine is doing the same thing. Actually, I know Pine is doing the same thing. I've watched his stream a little bit. He's been playing. He's been branching out to other characters, trying to play and get better at those. But I still feel like Pine is more of your specialist guy, where you're going to bring it in certain situations where he just really flourishes.
Yeah, certain maps, certain types of maps. Even
right.
He's not going to be. He's not a main player anyway.
Right.
He never was a guy that was going to be in there, on your roster every match.
Right.
Libero's the guy on that team that should be in all the time. You're going to want to give him a break here and there.
Right.
Or if you're trying to run some crazy strat, which I don't know what hero he doesn't know how to play.
Right. That's the thing, is Libero's hero pool is ridiculous. I think Flower he doesn't have quite the hero pool that Libero does, but his is definitely bigger than Sabiobi and Pine.
Yeah, and he's complementary to what Libero does too.
Yes.
So it's going to work out really good for them.
Right, and I think there will definitely be some times where they could sit Libero and you see some Sabiobi, you maybe see some Pine and Flower, and there's some really interesting combinations that they can do with bringing Flower onto their main roster.
Yeah.
He's just an incredible player. I think it only makes them better.
Yeah, so do I. I think which is hard to do from what they were last year, but
right.
It's going to make them strong.
We saw how they worked in the playoffs, and there's room for improvement. There's always room for improvement. I don't care how good or perfect you think your team is. There is always room for improvement.
Yeah, and adapting to a meta change was not one of the things that they were good at.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, let's be honest.
There were some points where they were so good that it didn't matter the meta change. They just forced their own way, and they still made it work. But towards the end, that's when you really saw that kind of... You saw the wheels start to come off. So I really think this is a great move.
So do I.
It'll be interesting to see. I still think that they need they could use another off tank and another main tank just to kind of expand what they're doing there.
I think so too.
They have two of the best that there is, but losing Janice is that's a big loss.
Yeah, he was a good fill-in guy for them, and he was he had like that certain maps where I think it was like he worked on a specific. There was the hybrid maps. Mm-hmm. He pretty much always came out on hybrid maps. He came in on Oasis once in a while too.
Yeah,
they need another guy like that in their tank line, because you don't want to swap the tanks out because you want the synergy that the two guys have, but you also want a guy that could come in a situation and play like if they need to like play Hammond, or they need to play throw an extra person in there who plays Brigitte, or a diva. And then you have Mono play something else,
right.
Something like that.
Say you want to play one of these the new metas of the goats or
the dotes.
So yeah, there's definitely some interesting things that they could do with that if they were to add that in.
Which ends up being oats if you're in ranked because people quit.
Right.
Anyway.
Exactly.
Dad jokes aplenty.
Right. That's really all there was with NYXL.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Toronto, who finally announced a few of their players. Last week they did their whole big name reveal and all that.
That was underwhelming.
For one of the more underwhelming events. Yeah.
It was. It was cool. Like, all right, you got the skins and the logos, and you're like, all right,
that's it, guys. Who's on your roster? No, we're not gonna say yet.
Yeah.
What? It was just very perplexing. I don't
get this whole roster secrecy thing. I mean, it's going beyond stupid.
It is.
And now people are getting mad at people that know things.
Right.
Because they're leaking. It's not leaking. They're just telling you who's on their team.
Right.
Here's an idea. Why don't you tell us who's on your team, and you don't have to worry about guys running around on the internet saying this guy's on their team.
Right. Because if you look at, any other major sport, that's what happens. Like, a guy is going in to sign a contract, Adam Schefter knows.
Yeah.
And he's going to tweet it out and let everybody know. As soon as it's pretty much official, like as soon as you have an agreement in place, it is out there.
I mean, I get like they even say like, so-and-so's in initial talks with the Packers.
Yeah.
They're visiting, we went over this before, when Peyton Manning was a free agent, you knew every stop on his little tour where he was going.
When LeBron was a free agent going from Miami when he went to Cleveland again, people were tracking the fucking plane
exactly.
of him going to Cleveland. I mean, that's just how it works when it comes to major sports and how these things work. You can't treat it like it's a game.
And I think people are being unfair to Michael right now.
Yes, absolutely.
And to be brutally honest, when we report roster stuff, we're using what Michael says because he knows what's going on.
Right. He knows what's going on. These other guys that are getting flack, like Slasher and
Bench Mob.
And Bench Mob, like they know what's going on. So of course we're going to use their information because
they're always
fans. Right. They know they're correct most of the time. Like,
Michael said Dafran was going to be on Atlanta, which we're going to get to in a minute.
A month ago. Right.
David Benchmob said they're changing the schedule and the way they're running the playoffs and everything in August.
Yeah.
And, they don't do a reveal until the middle of October.
And I mean, like that, some of that stuff, like they probably had to still finalize exactly because he wasn't 100% accurate on it, but he got most of it.
He got 90% of it. And, and some of it, I think, was reliant on the amount of teams and what's actually going on with the teams and all that stuff. The slamming on Michael because he's, reporting
it's
guys.
ridiculous.
He works with teams. He works with players. He talks to people. He does what every other person does. Is he a writer? No. That does. does that...
But at this point, that doesn't matter anymore. You don't need to be a reporter to know these things. You just got to have the connections.
Yeah. I mean, the days of, like, Bob Ryan and those 100-year-old journalists, not that journalists are bad in the sense.
Oh, yeah, no.
They write and they do good things. I'm not saying they don't. But this guy knows he's on the inside.
Right.
He's an actual insider. He knows he's played with these guys, played against them. And to slam him for, because you're in some pissing contest about leaking stuff, it goes back to the fucking original thought. If you don't hold on to the information like a bunch of idiots because you want really cool, reveal videos and shit, you don't have to worry about guys leaking stuff because you're leaking it yourself.
Yep. Exactly.
And it becomes just fact.
Yeah, exactly. And it's getting ridiculous, and I hope it's something that is able to change soon. Because it's just...
And it goes to the conversation we had before, too, where it was like, it's not like game content.
Right.
Where you don't want the other guys who are making games to know what you're doing because you don't want them to copy it or you don't want anything like that.
You don't want your features to get copied and then, like, you reveal, oh, here's this new cool thing that we're doing in this game a year before the game comes out. You don't want to reveal these features and let people know exactly how your game is going to get played because then somebody else is going to copy it and put out a shoddier product before you do, but then they're going to get credit for doing that because it came out first. Even though you were working on it well before they were, they just copied exactly what you did and put it out. So I get it in terms of that, but that's not how this works. This is sports.
Yeah.
Like,
you want it to be a legit sport. Kind of let it go like that. And holding information for big events.
In some things it works, in some things it doesn't. When it comes to rosters and basically it's like the more people that are involved in it, the less likely it is to stay hidden.
Yeah.
So unless you're making all of these people sign NDAs, which, you can do that when you're a developer and they work for you.
Yeah.
But when it's just like,
they're separate
when these
entities.
guys are talking to each other and they're players, like, of course they're going to tell each other that, hey man, did you know? Like, I'm going to Atlanta.
Yeah.
Like, or here's all these other
on?
Guys that are coming to Atlanta. Like,
yeah.
Oh yeah, man, though I'm going to be the head coach of this other thing. Like, that's how it works. They're fucking friends. Like, they're not tied to any one entity.
Especially the guys that were there last year. I mean, they were all literally locked in the same room for like 6 months.
Right. Like, you can't expect that to stay secret. And it's ridiculous to get mad at people for telling things that haven't been told yet.
Yeah.
And it's for views. That's how it all works. That's how we all make money. That's how we do things. Like, or just get more noticed. Like, that's just how this works, guys.
Yeah. So let's talk about the actual stuff now.
Yeah. So let's go into Toronto. So they announced over the weekend Neko and Envy, which we think is huge.
That's huge. Envy, we kind of were waiting for to hear something from Envy.
Yeah.
Especially we were speculating last year that, after he got released or kind of left, he needed to take a break because the grind was really crushing him.
But at the same point, he was one of those guys that was kind of a victim of the really stupid rule that they had of you can't sign anybody after the second stage, which was so ridiculous, and it really bit a lot of teams in the ass.
Yeah, it did. And the next team, especially, that we're going to... a player from that team.
Right.
That has signed with Atlanta, and that's Neko, who was a fantastic support.
And he just couldn't get any playtime because they favored other guys. And, I mean, he got some playtime, and he when he did play, he was great.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we'll get more into it.
About
Boston, because, man, there's been some real craziness that has come out about what happened with them. But yeah, he was just kind of a victim of that.
Yeah.
But he's a great support, and that's a huge pickup for Toronto.
They also picked up a couple of really good DPS players.
Yeah. So they picked up Ivy and Stellar from Korean contenders. Two random. He was on
Ardent.
Ardent. O2 Ardent.
We're not good with the
Korean contenders.
We're going to work on that. Once they got to get the whole thing.
Yeah, they have to get that all fixed.
Yeah.
But he's coming from Korean contenders. Both of them are.
But with the new camera thing, we'll be able to watch more and do more and research more.
Yes.
So we're not going to sound like we don't know what's going on.
Exactly.
But yeah, these two guys are good though. They're two, they got a good DPS line, they got a good off tank, and they got a good support to start.
Right. And I mean, I think the Neko and Envy, the fact that they're established names, they both played really, really well when they were able to play last season. I think that those two are huge additions. From what we've seen of Ivy and Stellar, I think they're going to be really, really good DPS. They seem to complement each other really well as well.
Yeah, and having guys that are have a little bit of experience in the league too and have been through the grind, that is going to be important.
Yeah.
There's a couple of teams, Atlanta and it looks like Vancouver, are going to be teams that are just going to go straight up contenders,
previous contenders, players,
and just really good players in general.
Yeah.
But they're not buying into the Overwatch League experience, which is fine. I mean, you could do that. I mean, it's only 1 year.
Right. There's only been 1 year. There's only so many guys that were in the league last year that are going to be available. And then, it's going to be a different kind of grind. It's going to be kind of less of a grind because of the schedule. And then, there's only so many guys. And it's just like, how many of those guys do you really want on your roster from the previous season because they're not on a roster? Anybody that's really worth something is already on a roster.
Yeah, and if they're not on a roster, there's obviously some issue going on with them internally, attitude. If you notice, like a lot of as much as I love the Mayhem from last year, skill level and attitude and demands for money and whatever else they have are, they're not on a roster.
Yeah, exactly. So,
well, let's talk about the big one.
Yeah, so the really big one, Atlanta, they did their whole logo and everything. We talked about that. Yeah. But they also, over this past weekend, they did a big roster reveal. They revealed their entire roster of everybody, which is cool. I'm glad that they finally did this, and we know for sure who's on their team now.
And you can make
and they're one of the first new teams to do this, to reveal their whole roster. So good on them. Thank you for finally putting it out. Yeah, I wish you'd have done it a month ago when we basically already knew this, but hey, whatever.
And you haven't heard boo from any of the Chinese teams.
Yeah.
Except for, I think one of them signed Silk Thread. That was the only thing I saw.
Yeah.
And maybe a couple other random guys that were in the league last year that were not that, huge of a player. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so let's dive into this roster.
All right. So starting off, we had Kodak, who's a flex support. He's coming from
Germany.
Yeah, the German World Cup team.
And he's been in EU contenders and stuff too. From what I saw of him in the World Cup, he's a really solid flex support.
Yeah, a really good Zen. I think his Ana is really top notch. He's going to be really good.
And we're going to have to see if Zen is going to be relevant again.
Yeah.
Which, who knows what's coming up at the end of the week. We got BlizzCon. So we're going to get a hero, and they're going to get another one probably before the season starts, like we said before.
And I would be shocked if one, or if not both of them, are support characters. So that could change things of how they approach that. But I'm absolutely thinking that there will be another support character coming in.
They're about due to release a rage-quitting DPS player.
Yeah, that too. So it'll be interesting to see what Kodak can do. Next is Naylor, who is a hitscan DPS player. He's a primary Widow player. We saw how impactful Widow can be in this league. And I don't think that's going away anytime soon. Between Widow, pretty much any of the hitscan characters, one of them will be relevant at some point.
Yeah, and Widow is gonna be relevant just because of the one-shot ability.
Yep.
Also, her ultimate is underrated.
It is.
And these guys play her at a god level. And even if they're running like a GOATS kind of thing or something, you still need someone to take out the supports. Mm-hmm. And the easiest way to do it is one-shotting them.
Yep.
And not with Doomfist.
Yeah.
We're talking about Widow here. And, he does, I've seen him do a little Tracer, a little Sombra here and there. But there's other people on this team that are going to be able to run Sombra better. But let's move on to next.
So, main tank, they have Pokpo, who came from Element Mystic. And he was regarded as one of the top tier tank mains coming out of Korean contenders. So I think this is a huge pickup for them.
Good on with the dive kind of comps.
Yeah,
dive tanks of Winston.
Very good Winston.
Decent Reinhardt.
Yeah,
he's gonna be really good. They did their homework and they did a good job of building a not just buying one whole team roster. They
built a full roster. It's a very mixed roster. There's we got, like we said, Kodak. He's from Germany. Naylor, I think,
he's from Russia.
The main Popo is Korean, and then the other guy that they got as their off tank, Dako, came from the same team, Element Mystic.
They also did a smart thing and signed a full tank line.
Yes,
with synergy.
That's already. That is what you want to do,
and that's going to be
these guys have played together before. We know how important tank synergy is, and the fact that these guys have played together before, that is a massive pickup on them. Good for them for doing that.
Yeah, because
both of these guys were top tier, probably some of the best tanks coming out of Korea that we've seen yet. So
yeah, and
huge pickup
along the lines of like what London did. I mean, they signed a whole roster, but you had Gesture and Fury. They already had synergy. Even Soul to an extent, even though they're not you had Miro and Neko.
Yeah.
No, Meko's
on NYXL.
Well, their tank line before they got Fissure. They had some history together. So it's something you don't want to have to worry about is getting these guys on the same page. They know what each other are going to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's more important with them on the tank line, I think, than
tank synergy. I think is absolutely critical to success. If you don't have your tanks on the same page of who's going to have what responsibility at what time. It can just make everything go bad, or it can make everything go just right.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's absolutely huge for them. So now, next they have, I'm going to probably butcher this name, Masa, who's their main support. He is Finnish. He's a really good Lucio player.
Yeah.
We haven't really seen too much from him. So yeah, that's a pretty good pickup for them. Don't really know all that much about him.
Yeah.
Then they have Erster, who's a projectile DPS, plays a lot of Genji. He comes from Lucky Future Zenith, which is a Chinese contenders team.
So they went out of their way to find really good players.
Yes. They're building more along the lines of the Fusion, they did last year. Just, they wanted to pull the best people from wherever they could and put them all on one team.
And see how it works.
Yeah.
Other teams, tried something sort of like that, and it didn't work. But they kind of went with the Fusions model. I totally agree. Now the next two guys, here's the interesting part.
Yeah, here's the wrench that they throw in, where these guys could either pay off and be huge and just masterful pickups, or they could derail everything and blow up your entire place.
Much like what happened with Dallas last year.
So starting off, we have Gator, who's a main tank.
Yeah.
Main tank for goats.
Ryan.
Yeah,
Master.
He is a phenomenal Reinhardt player.
I mean, if you guys never watched any of the goats when they were playing before they got banned and whatever else happened, dismantled by the league.
Yeah.
First off, they were not afraid to smack talk. They were, pretty bold and pretty brash, and he was, one of the leaders of that, and he was one of the best Reinhardts I've seen.
Oh my god. His Reinhardt is insane.
It's sick. And if we're still gonna have the GOATS comp thing going, you're gonna want to see some of him.
Yeah.
For sure. So he's gonna get some playing time. And I don't know how his other, I'm sure he's developed some other hero play.
Yeah, some other tank play. I'm sure he
can do Winston, I'm sure. And I'm sure he's probably dabbled with Hammond and whatever else. Or Wrecking Ball.
I'm pretty sure his Orisa is pretty sick as well.
Yeah.
So he's got two
phenomenal tanks.
Two really, really good tanks on this team already with those two. And then last but not least, probably could be the guy that pushes them over the top that really makes them incredible, and that's Dafran.
What do we have to say about Dafran?
What more can we say about this
guy? If you guys haven't ever watched his stream,
do yourself a favor, watch him, because he's hilarious. I really enjoy his stream. He sounds like a 7'6"
Viking giant.
Right, Viking giant, but he looks like a 12-year-old who's kicking your ass in Call of Duty on a console.
Yeah. It's hilarious. But
it's really hysterical.
But I just can't wait to watch him play on this level.
Yes.
And what I can't wait to see is I'm all about Sombra lately.
Yes.
I want to see him absolutely destroy the fuck out of everyone with Sombra.
Yeah.
And show people how it's done.
His Sombra is disgusting. Just his his play in general.
His play, anything he does is really disgusting.
And that's the thing, is this dude's hero pool is massive. I don't think there's a single hero that he can't play at an insanely high level.
Including Symmetra and Torb.
Symmetra, Torb, Lucio. Even though he got banned for playing Lucio at one point because people thought he was throwing because he wasn't like with the team. But he was still getting picks. Like, this dude is insane. Killing. Like, he was... It's ridiculous.
Battle Lucio.
Yeah.
Seriously.
And and if you run goats with him playing Lucio, oh boy. Yeah. So there's so much flexibility of what this guy can do. He could either be the DeMarcus Cousins of your team that just destroys everything, but he's incredible, or he could be the LeBron James where he literally does everything and it doesn't matter and just carries your entire team.
And if this team needs a carry, that's going to be weird, but I mean, I'm sure there'll be moments that do this roster is fucking stacked.
Because if those two don't work out, they still have an incredible roster. That's the thing. But those guys are what could really elevate them over the edge to being a top-tier contender.
Well, and these guys are going to have to work a lot to work together. I mean, you have 9 different languages on this team. That's going to be hard.
Absolutely.
But it's going to be hard in the regular day-to-day communication. In-game communication, I think is going to be okay.
Yeah.
Call-outs are generally in English.
Yeah. No matter across... Even if you listen to Korean contenders, they're still saying monkey, monkey, monkey to each other.
Monkey, monkey, mercy, whatever.
Like, you're still calling out the same, like, it's still generally the same thing, focusing your targets and all that. So I think they can make that work. They have the money to bring in all the translators they need. They can get everybody to learn the same universal call-out language, all of that.
Exactly. And that's what you're going to need. And to be honest, everyone's talking about Vancouver with Runaway. Toronto, from where we sit right now, it's hard to say that...
If any team is going to be a top-tier team of the new ones, my bet is on Atlanta.
Yeah.
And we're at this point where they're either going to be, like...
NYXL?
NYXL, or they're going to be the Dallas Fuel.
Yeah.
Like, that's their ceiling and that's their floor.
Yeah.
So, there's a huge gap that they could be in, but I'm leaning more towards them being a top-tier team because how stacked their roster is.
It's stacked, and, I mean, we're going to see. We don't know what the other teams are doing, obviously.
Right. And I really think with the ownership that they have, money won't be an issue.
No.
And they're going to make sure that they're putting in the best structure they can to breed success.
Because they're owned by Cox, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a lot of money in that. Because I'm sure most of you guys are in the United States. Pretty much Cox Cable is...
They're like number 3.
Yeah. 2 or 3. They're like behind Spectrum and whatever.
Behind Spectrum and Comcast.
Yeah.
But, so, I mean, to be the 3rd largest, that's massive.
Yeah, and that's internet providing and all that stuff. So, I mean, there's massive money on that team. And they're not going to want to... these massive money teams... They don't want to put a poor product on the field, so to speak. And they're going to be good. And some of these other teams that are in the league, that were in the league last year, are going to have to, they need to take a look at some of these new teams and see what they didn't do on the off season. Because some of these guys, some teams could have picked up.
Absolutely.
I mean, granted, they had the way they structured it is, the expansions had the first say in, who they were picking up and all that stuff.
But that was just on previous teams. I think like any of these guys that hadn't been in the league, that weren't coming from their contenders teams, like anybody could have picked up Dafran.
Yeah. But I think Envy, they had first crack at like Toronto had first crack at Envy and well, and obviously Neko got traded.
Yeah.
Or whatever they call it. Bought.
It's more like the European soccer teams where it's not really trades. The other team just literally buys their contract from them. Which if that's why you want to work it, that's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
I think it could work better the other way.
We're sports fans where we're waiting for draft picks and player to be named later. Yeah,
player to be named later. What is it? Compensations or whatever.
Yeah. From the looks of it, though, Toronto pretty much gave them 2 first-round picks for Neko.
Yeah, right.
But it's money, so it doesn't matter. It's not like that. It's not going to screw your team up.
Right.
Necessarily. All right, so All right, guys, that's going to do it for this one. We are going to hit you with the other part of this session we had where we talk a little bit about the Boston Uprising situation. We talk about the new camera that they're going to unveil for the World Cup and how it's going to affect the channel and what we are going to use it for and how it's going to improve things just in general with Overwatch and Overwatch League when they full release it and all that stuff. So you guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. And if you're new, please hit a like, hit a subscribe, hit the alert bell. For all you guys that have been around, thanks a lot for all the subscriptions, all of your likes, all the comments, and keep them coming. We want to keep this going. We want to keep the conversation going. You guys have a good rest of your day. We'll talk to you later.
Catch you guys on the next one. Later.